Hi. Oh my goodness. Hi, YouTube. Hi. It's been way too long. I promise I have been meaning desperately to get on here and share my thoughts. I felt so overwhelmingly compelled for a while now to kind of contribute my insight on what's going on. I'm not even going to bother to wait. You guys know how I do. I prefer to just jump on the live stream and start. If I were to record a video beforehand, chances are I would feel unhappy with it and just scrap the whole thing. So I find I work better under pressure, just go live and, just start dropping bombs. Hi, everybody. Oh, there everyone is. I'm so excited. First thing I'd like to do, I just want to apologize beforehand for the fact that I'm in my car. I just couldn't find a good place to do it where I'm, at my house. The Wi-Fi connection out there is pretty unstable, and I just get so sick and tired of like the buffering, and when things come in jumbled up, I just, it makes me feel less confident about what I'm presenting. So I just decided to find the most zen place I could find with a decent Wi-Fi connection, and I found myself like 150 yards from a Costco parking lot. So isn't that interesting? Not very zen, but it's not actually as crazy as you might think. So how's everybody doing? Are you guys having fun yet? Are you guys enjoying yourselves yet? We are in the middle of some unprecedented times, ladies and gentlemen, and I have some messages that I would really like to share with you. Again, I've really wanted to jump on here and share my insights with you guys for a while. Thank you guys for the birthday wishes, by the way. I see you guys saying, giving me your birthday wishes. I really appreciate that. As some of you know, President Trump has declared March 15th, 2020 as a National Day of Prayer for all those affected by CV. Interestingly enough, March 15th traditionally has had quite an ominous air about it. Supposedly considered the second unluckiest day of the year. It's considered a satanic holiday. So I do love the fact that today is being utilized as a day of connection, just being strange again. Hopefully it levels out. But I do like the idea of countering any negative incoming energies with the idea of prayer. Prayer is incredibly powerful. Now, what I would like to do, if I can, is talk to you guys a little bit about what I believe is actually going on right now with the CV pandemic. As so many of you already know, the regular flu kills more people annually than this strain of CV, okay? And I'm not meaning to downplay the potentially dangerous effects of this virus, okay? I'm not yet 100% sure how or where I stand in terms of the virus itself. I'd be far more confident in trying to explain what is potentially going on under the cover of shift in power. I'd like to call it a shift in power. Any significant shifts in power are going to be there will be this kind of shutdown type of energy. There will be this sort of massive pause on either national or international level, where essentially what these factions are going to require from us is that we put everything on pause, okay, and that human beings all remain kind of still. They need the herd to be calm. They need, not calm, but they need the herd to kind of just sit down for a second. That's not to say that they're not banking on your fear and your panic, because they very much are. But that being said, because this is a genuine shift in power, what we're all experiencing now is this great quiet, this great stillness. And I think it is through this stillness that huge forces are at work. If for those of you that are paying attention, we have seen just an incredible wave of resignations and step downs, from CEOs to producers to financial people, to political figures all around the world. Has actually picked up in velocity, in the sheer numbers of these people coming, stepping down or being removed. We have seen such an uptick in these kinds of resignations and steppings down in the past year. It's picked up even more velocity in the past 6 months. And right now, what we're going to continue to see is the going away, the removing from public view of a lot of high profile people, including celebrities. Now, as a lot of you know, if you've been watching my channel, other people's channels, Hollywood as an entity, as a tentacular asset of the deep state, as we now lovingly dub them, Hollywood are throwing each other under the bus, and all of these actors are essentially in their roles. They're taking their places. Tom and Rita Hanks being some of the latest celebrities to publicly announce that they are infected with the coronavirus and will be self-quarantining themselves. Redundant. I do believe that what this essentially is, these people are actors, okay? By definition, you can't believe a word that they say. They're all playing their roles. I think what is actually happening is that these people are either being removed from public view and going away in order to escape what comes next. Or alternatively, and it could be a combination of many of these possibilities, but alternatively, they could be sort of posing as poster faces or representatives of a mandatory medical push at this point, and sort of lead the way in saying that what's necessary now are these mandatory vaccines in order to push back on the spread of CV. So that is concerning to me. It's concerning to most people that are paying attention. We certainly do not want to allow any kind of mandatory medical protocol at this stage. It's exactly what ideally the cabal wants to do. Is to continue to subdue the human population with the onslaught of violence, such as the vaccines, the chemtrails, the 5G technology, all of it. The reason why I entitled this video Threading the 2020 Needle is because what 2020 is, astrologically, from an occult perspective, from a numerological perspective, from a cyclic perspective, in terms of where this particular race, this particular cycle of humanity is at, with our phases here, our evolution. 2020 is a portal. 2020 is a window. It is a period of time space made manifest as a window, of which there is a massive war between factions to gain control of where we go as we move through, if that makes any sense. So there is no avoiding the 2020 portal. There is no avoiding the fact that there is a winner and there is a loser to this contest, to this race. In a lot of ways, it's what it feels like to me, is a kind of race towards a window, and whoever can wrestle control, whoever can wrestle the reins, the control room away from the other, is essentially who wins the future narrative. Now, my personal belief is that we have already won, okay? The good guys have already won. And when I say the good guys, I mean that quite relatively, okay? Because the good guys have bad guys on their team, the bad guys have good guys on their team, and everywhere, everything in between, okay? The principalities of good and evil will take the form, will take the shape of everything and anything that you see around you in the Matrix, okay? We live in a dualistic realm. You know, everything has a little bit of good and evil in it. This is simply humanity's current way of expressing the age-old battle of good and evil. So in that sense, you know, take a breather, relax, understand that even though we are boots on the ground, we are in this, we are still, there is an aspect of the self, the omnipotent, limitless, immortal aspect is just here as an observer of this current time. So relax. It's all going to be okay, you know. Anyway, it's all passing. So I have found it personally to be very helpful to kind of surrender the, surrender my need to control what's going on in the here and now to my higher self, and understand that we have already done this. We've already made the decisions. We're here now in our human avatars with our current realm of understanding. We're trying to understand why we made the decisions that we made during this time. Why we chose the roles that we chose, why we chose to remain silent or active. And so this is all one big learning ground, one big proving ground that we're all a part of right now. There is so much that I wanted to say, you know, just in terms of the actors within the Matrix, okay? So we have our Agent Smiths, we have our, what's the guy that betrays them? Cypher, Cyrus, something like that. You know, we're all dealing with people that have, decepted us. We thought they were on the side of good, but really they weren't. You know, we've all had to kind of go through the neo process of awakening and red pill or blue pill. We have all had to personally contend with the concept of prophecy, which I feel was, you know, Morpheus's archetype was, you know, everything about it to him was about the prophecy. It was about the plan. It was about trusting the plan, trusting the prophecy. And if you noticed, there was a constant struggle for Neo between whether or not Morpheus was just crazy and trusting the plan, or whether or not he was really, you know, onto something. And it was this constant struggle between, is this really happening? Is this possible? And is this all in my mind? And so, you know, we're all walking on this razor's edge right now, where this is going to become incredibly personal. And I think that is part of the reason why quarantines are taking place. In part is to force people to make a decision to focus, whether or not they're going to focus on the external factors, of which they are not nearly as in control of as what they are focusing on internally. So the quarantines, I see it, you know, take it as an opportunity for, you know, rest, for internalization, reconnecting with your children, with your animals, with nature, you know. In terms of the factions that we are referencing when we talk about good versus evil, you know, there's actors everywhere. If we look at social media and we look at who is saying what about CV, about what comes next, it's almost as if this whole thing is this scripted story with, you know, actors and you know, this guy has that role and she has that role, and it's like, wow, you know, are these people privy at all to what, you know, to the fact that they're all part of this cosmic soap opera? You know, it really makes one wonder. And you know, why are we warring? Why are they warring so hard for the consensus of humans? Why do they need us to adopt their specific version of what's happening right now? And the answer is because what happens after we move through this 2020, um, um, this 2020 portal, this 2020 jump, this leap into the unknown, is because after that particular point in time, the great reveal, if you will, they very desperately, this is their version of damage control. They have to control how you feel about it, and they have to attempt to control your perception of what has happened and what is happening so that they can remain somewhat in control through fear, through mandatory this and that, when things are all revealed, when things have been made known. They still want to maintain that, they want an alibi, essentially. They want an alibi. This is why we had to do it, or, don't listen to this, don't listen to that. During this time as well, there is a massive, I use the term race, because we essentially are working on a clock, okay? Yes, the omnipotent, highest aspect of the self is operating outside of time, outside of this particular continuum where we're sort of scaled down and tuned into chronological time, but the highest aspect of the self is working from outside of that limiting construct. We are now required to make a decision about what kind of, or rather what station we're tuning into. And to try to clarify that, what I mean is that after 2020, the fabric of the matrix undergoes a kind of upgrade. That's essentially what I would like to say, is that the upgrades, if we were to think of, the realms of men and planet Earth as a computer system, 2020 is a mandatory upgrade. Okay, that's how I'd like to describe it. 2020 is a mandatory systems update for humanity, for the planet. And so what the cabal is attempting to do is to try to, kind of like gremlins or viruses, they're trying to maintain their hold. They're like bugs in the system. They are bugs in the system. And anytime a program, a negative program, such as the global elite, these families that have controlled things for a long time, anytime, and throughout the historic cycles of humanity, we have done this before. Most recently, we've done this during Atlantis. If we were to scale back on a time, on a chronological time frame here, the most recent sort of gauntlet, similar to the one that we're going through now, and in many ways mirrors what we're going through now, or in more ways is a continuation of what happened in Atlantis. That's essentially what we're looking at. So let me take a look here at what's going on here. Thank you guys so much for the birthday wishes. I love it. Okay, so do I have any mods in here that are watching? I actually don't see any all that much spam, so I'm actually really excited about that. But yeah, so the 2020 upgrade is taking place regardless of whether or not you're ready. Okay, it's happening whether or not you're ready. We have been jumping up and down for years trying to let humans know what's coming, okay? And there have been so many opportunities granted, and it's still not too late. It's not too late. Don't listen. I am not going to sit here and tell you that you are, completely out of time. Time is up for sure, but you still have this amazing divine right to choose what frequency you tune into after this. So historically speaking, on Earth's timeline, human beings have gone through cycles, the rise and fall of empires, the clashing of principalities, good and evil. We've done this a million times, and we'll do this more. This is simply another phase in the current root races experience, okay? So this is kind of nothing new. But that being said, anytime a program such as the Cabal or the global elite, which in past cycles have taken on different forms, anytime they have been faced with their own demise, their own destruction, their own apocalypse, they're faced with a choice. Either assimilate with the system and try to hide within it, in people, in dark alleyways. We could describe them as the deep state. The deep state is essentially a program, now an archaic, outdated program that is on its way out, that has been hiding within the cracks and crevices of humanity for too long. And they are being faced with their destruction right now as we speak. And their choice was either to face the sort of return to source, return to the center, and be disassembled and recycled, and move forward with their own whatever it is that old programs do when they die, when their time is up, or find places to hide in darkness. Now, the Cabal, the deep state, they have chosen to hide, okay? They didn't opt to return to source, okay? They chose to hide. But now, this is kind of like when a computer from the inside, it's like the database in and of itself is rebooting. Everything is rebooting. So, now remember, again, we are talking about the principalities of good and evil. And good and evil will manifest themselves in the form of human beings, animals, electricity, signs, everything, because the Matrix is an incredibly integrated system. So when you experience things like deja vu and synchronicities and signs, all of that indicates to you that you're part of an interconnected web of it's an intelligence that connects you to everything around you, including source. And so what we're moving through right now is this I have to turn my car back on because it is going to get hot, so hot in here in like 2 seconds. Because it is the hottest day of the year in Florida. We have just flirted with the most wonderful winter here in South Florida, and it was gone as soon as it came. Upgrades, yes, the upgrades have begun. Yes. I do want to talk to you guys about the network, okay? I feel as if what's going to be coming to light now is the nature of the interplanetary nature of Earth, meaning where we sit, where we are, situationally, where we are in relevance in relation to all of these other celestial bodies that we have come to know and love through astrology. I think that all of that is going to be made known. Enter Space Force, enter, disclosure, all of that stuff. That sector is being covered. The dissemination of, the actual reality, the off-planet reality, all of that is going to be made known to people. Now, even though this 2020 portal essentially defines a period on Earth where the kind of the bridges, the openings, the nature of it all is made known to people, there will still, up until the bitter end, be a war for how the human mind perceives what is around it. And that's why human beings are essentially just a commodity to these higher factions that are at war with each other, and call me, whatever you want to call me, but I feel, myself and a lot of others that I know feel that we were kind of asked or tasked with the responsibility of trying to remind everybody that we as humans we're commodities. We are sort of bought, traded, and sold as it's like a marketplace. It's like a galactic marketplace. And all of that, sort of the involvement of the human race in what we're going to call interplanetary trafficking, all of that is going to be made known. And so what do we do when we want to get the interplanetary nature of humans and humans' involvement in it? What do we do when we want to sort of introduce that concept to a flock of people that have they're so that concept is so foreign to them? What do? We give it to them very slowly. We give it to them through a series of linguistic programs that very gently and coated in sugar, kind of feed to people, so that over time it just makes sense and it's more palatable and they can digest it. And essentially metabolize that and then move forward. So I know I just used food and the digestive process as a metaphor for humans coming into this knowing, but that is how I feel about it, is that this is going to be a huge metabolization of data within the human collective, and people are going to have a hard time digesting it. But that's okay, because there's a lot of us here that feel equipped and ready to be able to hold hands through this and talk about what's going on. I have to stress, don't have fear. Try to, face it. You can't fight fear. Fear is a naturally occurring response, and there's nothing wrong with it. That being said, you have to face it. You have to lean into it, and you have to look at exactly what it is that you're afraid of in that moment. And it will come in waves, okay? A few suggestions for coping with fear is turn off the news. You're not going to get what you need to get by watching mainstream media. Talk to your local conspiracy dealers. I call us conspiracy dealers. But really it's just the folks that in your community that have been attempting to disseminate this knowledge for quite some time. Now is really their time to shine. Go ahead and thank your resident conspiracy theorist, your local conspiracy dealer, for their work. This is really this is a bittersweet time, because we know that things are about to get bumpy, but at the same time, we feel so validated, because a lot of us have paid full price for wearing this kind of information on our sleeves for all these years, and knowing that we were onto something, but not understanding exactly, why we cared so much about something that wasn't obvious to everybody else. And sometimes you really start. Okay, so in terms of actors and roles here, I really felt guided to talk to you guys about Elon Musk's role in all of this. That may seem very strange to you guys, but as I stated earlier, I feel that what we are living through now is a kind of continuation of a massive event that took place in Atlantis. I feel that the timeline we are now is it could be called an echo, it could be called a mirror, a reflection. We are living in a very similar template to the Atlantean template. And please refer to my Atlantean Incarnates video on my channel to learn a little bit more about the concept that key figures, key players, key beings that were very active during the Atlantean saga have reincarnated into this timeline to essentially play out yet again a very similar template, a very similar story. Okay, that's what it is. Our lives are stories. Humanity is one big saga. Okay, it is, and it is spelled out through emotion, through language, through math, through art. And that's why, no matter how crazy things get and how panicked and scared people are tempted to become, I urge you guys to tap into your limitless, immortal, omnipotent aspects and realize that you are here as an observer. You are here to see humanity at its highest and its lowest and just take all of it in and use it to the benefit of your soul, of your immortal soul, and simply scale higher and higher and higher in your divinity. And that's why fear really doesn't have much of a place right now. The time to be afraid has kind of passed. And because we're in it, we are in it to win it right now. Elon Musk he tweeted, somebody said something about it and it really caught my eye because I was like, oh my gosh, yes, Elon. Elon tweeted, he said, the coronavirus is dumb, or the coronavirus panic is dumb. And then somebody said, okay, dumb, DUMBs are an acronym for the underground military bases, okay? And I'm thinking, yeah, there's probably something to that. I do believe that the cabal is going to use this time to escape justice, to escape the storm, and they're essentially going to be going underground and trying to hide, trying to kind of cheat this inevitable process, which they're not going to be successful. And interestingly enough, Grimes, Claire Boucher, she is a French-Canadian artist, musician. She's actually been one of my favorite musicians for about 10 years, and it's just so strange how this girl, this entertainer, Grimes, and Elon Musk would come together in this kind of cosmic Atlantean incarnates. This is why I feel like they have been placed in these positions of influence at this particular time. They're having a baby together, so they are both entered into this biological contract with one another to bring forth this child. As you guys know, Elon is huge on Mars and interplanetary travel. I believe that they are attempting to just write out their cosmic story with one another. Grimes released her latest album, Miss Anthropocene, just a couple of days before the coronavirus thing really hit. And I feel like she may or may not be privy to her role in all of this, but I listened to that album cover to cover repeatedly, and some of the titles of the songs are Before the Fever, You'll Miss Me When I'm Not Around, New Gods, and what else? The main theme. Now listen, I love the album, to be honest with you. Great music, beautiful vocals, beautiful art. I love Grimes. I can't help it. I really like her music. The theme for that particular album was all about the end of the world. And we know that Elon, being a diehard believer in the traditional notion of space travel, meaning we send rocket ships to outer space to go, up, and find a planet, land on it, find Mars, land on it. Him being one of the primary, the primary leading guys on planet Earth to take us into space. I feel like what they are attempting to do together, Grimes and Elon and people like them, they're attempting to they're attempting to kind of tug the collective into a certain version of reality. And it's entirely possible that on the other side of 2020, when this great reveal does happen and people are made aware of the interplanetary nature of this planet, there will be this huge this vacuum that has opened up. Where people are desperately, because this is what people do, we're pack animals, we need answers, we need guidance, we need somebody to tell us what's going on. I think that is where Elon and sort of that whole wave, that whole narrative is going to come in and provide humanity with a version of reality, and it is going to be very convincing. Now remember, they have mastered virtual reality. We don't know what kind of technology that the deep state or the cabal has that would be able to effectively suggest to the collective that what they are viewing with their eyes. Remember that the cameras are a kind of lens. Okay, there's so much to the human eyeball that we're understanding about, you know, what it detects and what it's not detecting. Essentially, what we are missing from view, what we are missing from sight when we use the eye. And so I feel that what they are going to attempt to do is trick us using an incredibly sophisticated technology that essentially starts from each individual human being. When a human being is sort of embedded on a grid and used as an individual power cell, that makes it very easy for an AI entanglement system to kind of utilize each and every human being as a kind of chip, as a data chip, as some means of entangling the system, powering the system, and sort of creating structure through the very tangible, measurable units of energy that humans emit, and using our energy to power a virtual reality. To where they get to lay claim to an entire portion of the population that has chosen to tune into that frequency, and they will need your consent to do so, which is you know, something they've been working on for a very long time. But the problem is that the CV pandemic is being used by the cabal to further these mandatory vaccine programs. We're going to have to try to push those back as best as we can. But the problem with introducing a mandatory vaccine at this stage in the plan is that this makes us even more susceptible to that entanglement, to AI entanglement. Okay, what that essentially does is that embeds the system with materials that it's kind of like putting a magnet inside your body, and the master magnet is AI. And so you're essentially giving consent to the puppet master to allow yourself to be, you know, fooled. Okay. So, and I know that may seem outlandish, but there are players, actors in place, whether they are aware of it or not, that are being used to push that version. Now, because there is a race for this portal, there is a race for this window. We know what the cabal is doing. We know what they want to do. They want to attempt to dominate the consensus, steal the consensus, tug and tether on the on human energy to sort of remain in the system as these vicious parasitic entities for as long as they possibly can, even though their time is up. And then on the other side of things, we do have a very powerful resistance faction. Folks, I do want to tell you guys, I really, I would take it as a personal favor if you guys could start to possibly see that organizations such as the Department of Defense, Homeland Security, the State Department, the CIA, even some of the banks, Hollywood, medical, all of these have functioned as kind of, one of the best metaphors for what is actually going on. And so some of those analogies I'm going to use. Do we not have a moderator? Here, let me see if maybe I can. Nope. I don't know. What's going on here? All right, guys. All right. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so heavy I fell through the earth. Oh my gosh, you guys, that, like, honestly, I love the sounds. Like, I love her aesthetic. I love the sounds. It's all very alluring, and they have made, she's done a great job of making the idea of transhumanism kind of attractive. And that's dangerous because transhumanism is essentially what we are trying to avoid. We don't want to merge with virtual reality. We don't want to merge with the system. I don't. You guys can decide for yourselves. That's what this all comes down to, is you get to decide. Do you want to merge with the machine? If you do, get your vaccines. Buy into fear, do that, go fight people for toilet paper. If that's what you would like to do, is merge with the machine, that is your choice, and I support you in doing so. I urge you to do the opposite, but if that's your choice, I respect you for that. And on the other side of this, we have the positive faction. What I was saying about the CIA, the DoD, the medical world, Hollywood, all of these we're going to liken to the way that phones work in the movie The Matrix. They are portals, they are access points, they are entry points for things to come in. So in alignment with that thought, resistance, okay, the true resistance, the principality of good, the principality of light, to utilize these access points, these entryways, as tools in this war. And what I mean by this when I say that is that there are undoubtedly good people working, embodying, representing the notion, the concept of light and truth and strength and courage and justice. They are absolutely 100% embodying that energy. They also happen to work in the CIA, in the military, in law enforcement, in Hollywood, in the medical field, in labs. There are good people that embody and bring forth the power of light, that work and live in the CIA, the DoD, the health, the medical field, all of it. They're all there. So we have to stop with this, oh, so-and-so has a CIA this and that, or so-and-so is, COINTELPRO or controlled opposition. Yes, all of those things exist. Okay, controlled opposition does exist. But it's so silly to think that these entry points, that these hives, if you will, these hives that have previously been utilized only by negative forces, it's silly to think that the good guys wouldn't utilize these entry points as means, as tools to fight them from within. So we have to understand that this is just strategy. This is game theory. This is war. This is war. We are in the middle of a war, and there are a lot of unexpected people in unexpected places. Okay? I really could keep going. I feel like I'm going to throw up for some reason. And I don't want to do that because that would just be so embarrassing. But I did want to talk about the alternative network, because there is a war right now between networks. War for the consensus, this war for humanity's understanding of what comes next. So we know what the machine wants. We know what the cabal wants. The cabal wants people to be subdued. They want our ancestral memories to stay. They want people to remain in a state of amnesia. All of that is coming to an end. That amnesia is it's like time's up. Okay, the quarantine for that is up. All of the chains that we have been locked into, all of those things are being released right now. And And on the good side of things, we have what I'd like to describe as an organic, naturally occurring, inherent network. Okay. And this is going to be the network that stems and emanates from the heart. This is what connects us to the underneath the ocean, to the center of the earth. This is a naturally occurring network of electromagnetic energy, and it interfaces all of us. This is part of the reason why, when you go up into the mountains or you go into a genuine like wilderness area, you feel closer to God, because the further away you are from the entanglements of the modern day metropolis, the closer you are to source, the more reminded you are of who you are, where you come from. Those ancestral memories start to tingle, and you're like, wow, like, oh, it's just, your spirit feels so alive, you feel so refreshed. And if you're a normal, healthy human being, you'll typically start to feel healthier and healthier the longer you're in nature. And as soon as you are reintroduced back into the metropolitan areas, you feel drained, you feel, you feel this sort of this spiritual dehydration, if you will. And so I do feel that, as simple as it is, that is going to be an effective remedy for us moving forward. That is an effective strategy to combat what is surely going to be a test of our wits, of our resolve, of our endurance, or medical protocols that are going to result from the CV pandemic. If you can, get yourself out to the oldest tree in your state. Now, I know that sounds really crazy, but I'm definitely going to be touching on that in my next video. The oldest trees on the planet are going to be what reconnects the human collective to the ancient networks that have been hijacked. They've been usurped by what we're going to call the old guard. This is now a shift in power to the new guard, the new and improved guard that is going to properly utilize these terrestrial meridian points, these very important locations on the planet that have acted historically have acted as sort of like rally points. Okay, they function to create harmony and balance and get information from one part of the world to the next. That system was hijacked. It was usurped a long time ago by malevolent powers, and what we're witnessing now is the seizing, once again, the taking back of this ancient natural network of which we are intrinsically a part of, and there's nothing that we could do to change that fact. Which is why this whole thing, the CV pandemic, is just a cover for trying to remain in control of humans' perception of this shift. They want you to be so confused and afraid of what comes next that you buy into their version of the world. And what you now have is this beautiful decision you get to choose. You get to choose which version you believe in. I really am going to do more of this. This is my first video I've done in a while, and it's not as scary as I thought. It's always hard to get started, but once I get started, it's kind of like, off to the races. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody remains calm. Go ahead if you can, if you're able to. I highly suggest meeting with your neighbors, meeting with your friends, finding out what people are good at. If somebody is a medic, if somebody has medical equipment, medical, means and know-withal, an ability to help heal, then there are people that are really good with, agriculture. There are people that are good at making things. All of these things are going to become very important because the shit is absolutely hitting the fan right now. This cover of darkness, we are absolutely about to enter into, I want to call it the great pause, okay? But it is only going to appear to be a pause, but really there is an incredible amount of action taking place during this pause. And yeah, as much as, people want to make fun of me because we've been talking about this for years and it never really seemed to happen, I do feel that this is a time of mass arrests. I do feel that the positive military, also known as the white hat operatives or the resistance factions, the good factions, are using this, using the cover of the CV pandemic and the quarantines and the shutdowns, using this as a cloaking agent, if you will, to go in and conduct high level, high profile arrests, and essentially doing this mass cleanup operation. And at the same time, the cabal is utilizing this cover, this cloak of darkness, to take out threats that they deem, important, significant threats. So the cabal is working, the good guys are working. Humanity is the prize. Humanity's perception is the commodity here. So I urge you people to remain as calm and as uplifted as possible. Hug a tree, as silly and as hippie and love and light as that may sound. The trees, especially the oldest trees, they contain genetic links. Okay, they contain all of the information that the planet has remembered, that the conscious human mind has forgotten, and it is of the utmost importance that we remember that, or at least ask or seek to remember that, as that is what is going to anchor humanity to what is real, to what is true, to what is, this is our future, our past, and our present, all rolled into one moment. And so I urge people to get back to what is real. That's going to be the wilderness. That's going to be source. So yeah, good luck out there. Thank you guys so much for the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Until next time.